Welcome to What's the Deal with Sam? Starring Sam Lilly. Join Sam as he discusses a wide variety of topics.
Batman.
Now let's start the show.
Thank you. I didn't have a joke to start, but I guess we're talking about the sexualization in video games thing. It's a thing that apparently is a problem, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's a thing you usually hear about women. That women in video games are being overly sexualized. And it seems that mostly women are upset about it, in real life. And it's a little ridiculous because they're fucking video games, right? Like, the point of video game is not to be realistic for many video games, right? I'm not playing Mario because that's exactly how, how a plumber simulator. That's not it, people don't do that. And it's weird that, for a lot of these games, are like tournament fighters, people fighting to the death and shit, doing all these weird superpowers or all this other stuff. It's like, does it matter? Like, they're clearly fake. The other shit that's happening in this universe here, it's fake. It's shit that can't even happen and is not possible in real life. Why do we have to take this one thing away from it and say, oh, this girl here has impossible proportions, and that makes me feel bad about myself? And I find that offensive because it's a fake thing that's supposed to be fake and is clearly fake. Why? You that upset about that? Where does that make any sense? At what point in time does that make sense? In what part of your brain does it make sense? Probably at no point in time or in your brain does it make sense. And I don't know, it fucking... Now, if it's a game that's supposed to be realistic, I understand, if you're trying to be like, fucking, this is real life, we're gonna have a stamina meter, we're gonna have hungry, you gotta eat food every so often and drink stuff, and you gotta go to the fucking bathroom, we're trying to be as realistic as fucking possible here. There are games that want to do that, and they're supposed to be realistic, and at that point, yes, you probably should have realistic looking people in your game. That would go along with it, wouldn't it? Then I can understand. Or if, the character themselves, the character is offensive. It's like, that's one thing. But also, it's like, that's more of like who the character is, right? And that's kind of a thing too, where it's supposed to be this message that you're pushing across of like, it's just not, don't judge a book by its cover, it's on the inside that counts. So who cares if they have impossible proportions? What if that's a weird birth defect? It just happens to make these girls look really hot. I don't know, like, they have these weird proportions like this, and it's like, it should matter what the character does, not what they look like. Isn't that sort of the kind of the point? And it's weird, and I think more so here is that what's really frustrating too. I mean, like, there's people get really pissed off about this, right? And it's like, we've kind of tried to steer away from that a lot more with a lot of these games because they just don't want to have all the backlash and negativity around it. But then there's also certain games now that are, because that market is now smaller, because people are kind of afraid to touch that for fear of all the hatred that's going to happen, is that there are now some games that intentionally put out games like that. Like, look at these girls, like, they're super hot, like, they're so edgy, you should get our game because we don't give a shit. And it's like, they get press on that, because whether it's someone saying, holy shit, check out this game where these girls have super huge tits, or it's like the media and people out, public outcry is like, it's not actually possible with a person of this frame to have breasts of this size, mathematically speaking, of course. And it's like, either way, basically, whether you're praising it or you're hazing it, whichever way you go on it, it's like, it's still getting the press, and you're still saying there are these girls here with ridiculous proportions, and people who want to get that kind of game are going to get that kind of game because they heard that it exists. That's how they're selling the game. And you just then advertised and sold the game, helped sell this game for them in what's already now a smaller market because you're hounding everything else that's not really focusing on that, not even fucking about it, and where it's barely even an issue. And I think that's kind of a weird, just, I don't know, backfire. That's the word, backfire. Thinking of a bunch of other words with the word back, and I couldn't think of backfire. And I guess, that's the thing, and I don't know, it feels like an easy idea of, like, if it makes you feel bad, like, you see a game and there's, like, a girl on the cover, or you see gameplay footage or something, because, it's very easy to see stuff about games now, even if no one was bitching about them. There's gameplay footage everywhere, and screenshots, and cover, and the art, and all that stuff, and it's like, if seeing those things makes you feel bad, don't buy that game. Don't buy the thing that'll make you feel bad. Is that so hard to do? Is that such a foreign concept? Don't intentionally make yourself feel bad unless that's what you want. It shouldn't give you, a fucking body image issue from a fucking video game, because it's a fucking video game. And, like, does it really matter? Does it really matter if they looked, more realistic or not? There are people that are jerking off to girls on, Food Network doing cooking shows. Does it really, they're not really being sexualized, are they? But does it matter? You're not really hurting, it's not about that, it's really just about having self-image issues, right? And I don't know, I guess you can avoid that by just not getting those. And I understand, like, if it was, that's every game, but it's not. It's not every game. There are many games where there's not even women in them, which is also could be a problem, I guess. They are not being represented at all. Or, maybe it's all just fucking robots, or it's a puzzle game, whatever. There doesn't necessarily have to be human mascots or anything like that. So, whatever. Like, it's not a big deal. Just find what makes you happy, and don't buy the things that make you unhappy. And if you buy something accidentally that ends up making you unhappy because of that, maybe get rid of it, and just shut the fuck up, just let it go. Because at this point, you're beating the dead horse. That horse is long dead. You're clacking on the bones, and no one gives a shit now. It's not. You've made your point now. It's happened everywhere, and we've made conscious efforts. And while it's still like you're trying to teach them a lesson, there's only so much you can do at a time. And while you're giving it more time, maybe just avoid stuff you don't like, and try to get stuff you do like, is mainly the point there. And the other part of this that I think really upsets me is just the fact that it's really only about women. It's not like there are people, I guess, who are getting upset about sexualization of men, but not really, nowhere near the same extent at all. Because, it's not like guys are playing these games and thinking I have to be 7 feet tall and have a fucking six-pack, like what? That's because for some reason we're able to just play the game, and they want to be these really cool dudes that they're not. And I guess that might also be kind of a thing too. It's like, why wouldn't you want to play as a character that you're not? Some dudes are playing as these hot girl characters. That doesn't make them a girl, right? Doesn't do anything about their self-image. Like, I wish I was a female. So, like, it's just weird that it's such a thing. Like, it's supposed to, they're saying how it's supposed to be, like, sexist and all that, yet it's only the sexualization of women that seems to be getting the whole, attention and the attack, whereas, like, sexualization of men is like, whatever, that's fine, because apparently, either not enough men bitch about that, or women don't mind that happens. And that's why I feel like this is a weird thing, that it's not actually about the sexualization. That's not the issue. It's just that it happens to be towards women that's the issue, because doing that to men is fine, I guess, because they're men, and, that they've had all these advantages, so why not just let this happen? I don't know. It's ridiculous at any rate. If I really felt bad about the way men were portrayed in the games either, I wouldn't play them. I really don't care because I understand that a video game is not real life. I can, it's not even, it's even a bigger disconnect than like fucking movies, where like in movies, yeah, they're still sexualizing people in the movies, but they're still real people. And they probably have to do some ridiculous things sometimes to look the way that they do, but they're still real people. Or like in magazines, like maybe you airbrush or Photoshop or some shit, but they're still real people. It's not like you just totally created a model, in some kind of engine. It's like, that's why it looks like that. It's because they fucking created it from scratch. It's not a real fucking person. For Christ's sake, do you not know the difference? I guess it all just stems to that larger issue of, do you not know the difference between what is real and what is not? A video game, here's a tip, video game is not. Start there.
What's the deal with Sam? What's the deal with Sam? What's the deal with Sam?